Hi, I'm George and this is Dave, and we're coming from Acme Guitar Works, and we wanted to tell you about this guitar. We were hot rodding guitars for a while. We started with stock Fender Mexican guitars, and we would put parts and labor into them and really turn them into very nice guitars. We've discontinued that program, but we do have a few guitars that we're finishing up, and this is one of them. So I have to say this particular guitar really knocks me out. Of all the guitars that we did, you know, some of them would really talk to me, speak to me personally, and this was one of them. This started as a 70s, a Classic Series 70s Stratocaster. Classic Series means Mexican vintage reissue. So this was a 70s Strat. They make the 70s Strat in either rosewood or maple. This one, of course, is rosewood. Big headstock. Guitar was black. It came with, I think, a white pickguard, 3-ply white pickguard, and that'll come with the guitar, with the stock electronics and all that stuff. All of the hardware and original parts come with it. So this one, I'll start at the headstock and go down. So this guitar comes from Fender with small frets and a 7¼ inch fretboard radius, which is pretty round. And we flattened it some. So we pulled the frets out and we flattened the rosewood from 7¼ to 9½ inches, which is the fretboard radius that's used on most of the American series guitars, like the American Standard Strats and Tellys. The reason Fender went to the flatter radius was because you can get the action a little bit lower before it frets out when you bend. So with the vintage radius, when you would bend the strings a whole step, if the action was real low, the string, you'd get some choking out here and there. So with a 9½ inch radius, I think probably Fender determined that that's the roundest they could keep it and still be able to get low sort of modern action, like, you know, everybody uses PRS, Tom Anderson, Sir, all of these, you know, high-end guitars. Fender said, well, we want action like that too, and so that's the reason. So that's what we did on this guitar, 9½ inch radius, nice low action. It feels really, really good. Part of that too is because when we refretted it, we put in Dunlop 6100 fret wire, and that's pretty tall fret wire. The little frets, when you bend strings, the strings have a way of kind of slipping out from under your fingers. You can't quite get up underneath them like you can with taller fret wire. And most guys that bend strings a lot, which is, you know, most guys these days, find it more comfortable to bend on taller frets than on shorter frets. So we put Dunlop 6100 fret wire. I got to say, this guitar feels fantastic to me. It really, really feels good. We also deglossed the back of the neck. Fender puts a light tint on these so that they don't have that real white maple, like new maple looks. We left that. Of course, on the back, it looks just like it came from Fender. What you can't see on the camera, I'm sure, is right here there's a hard line where it transitions from the gloss to a matte finish, and that makes it, in certain environments, a little less sticky, the neck. It's just easier, I find it easier anyway, to move your hand up and down the neck. There's less friction. We also put a bone nut in this guitar. You know, the frets and everything required a new nut, and we said, well, if we're going to make a nut, let's make it out of bone. It's a good hard material. It's the traditional material for making nuts. You only find it in higher and more expensive guitars. Custom shop Strats would typically have it. Get to the body, we did a complete new electronic assembly. We used a Fender anodized pickguard. This is one of their reissue pickguards, but for the modern 11-hole, which is what the 70s guitars used. And we have Grosh Fat 60s pickups in it. Don Grosh makes high-end bolt-on Strat Telly guitars, and they also make some set neck guitars. They're a high-end maker like Sir, like Tom Anderson. Very, very nice stuff. They do their own pickup winding now in-house. We were so pleased with how these pickups sounded in another guitar that we recently did that we said, well, let's put them in this guitar. And when Dave plays, you'll be able to hear it and judge for yourself whether or not you like the way they sound. This guitar has blender wiring, our most popular wiring for Stratocasters. You have a master volume, a master tone. The tone control is always active no matter where the switch is. The bottom control allows you to combine the neck and the bridged pickups together in ways that you can't normally, or get all three pickups on, again, in ways that you can't normally, that you wouldn't be able to at all normally with a Strat. So that's how this one is wired up. Again, it's our most popular Strat wiring that we do. We do blender wiring a lot. This guitar also has a Callahan tremolo. The stock tremolo on these guitars, the Mexican guitars, come with a cast zinc block, the inertia block on the back of the tremolo. It's not made of solid steel like the vintage reissues are and like the original vintage guitars were. Callahan makes a really nice line of replacement blocks and other parts for tremolos. In this case, we just put the complete tremolo on there, and it's top quality materials. It sounds good. It's got the steel block. It's got an arm that works better than the Fender arm. You don't have the slop in there in the threads like you normally would with a threaded in arm. But we also, on this particular guitar, instead of the normal string spacing, we went with Callahan's vintage narrow bridge. So on an old Strat, a lot of times you would find that the E strings would sort of be right on the edges of the fretboard, and it's easy to pull them off the edge of the fretboard. I had a 71 Strat I had for years, and everybody that played that guitar would complain about, man, how do you play this thing? I'm constantly pulling the high E, especially off the edge of the fretboard. When they redesigned the Stratocaster in the mid-1980s and came out with the American Series Stratocaster, they narrowed the string spacing in order to take care of that problem. So they went from a 2 7/32 to 2 1/16, which is a fair amount. And that gets the E strings in away from the edges, so you're not always pulling them off. It alleviates that problem. Callahan makes a tremolo that has the vintage screw spacing, so it screws right on the guitar without modification, but it has the narrow string spacing. It's brilliant. And so this guitar has everything going for it. Anybody that's used to a modern Stratocaster is going to feel right at home with this guitar. It's got the flatter radius, the taller frets, the narrower string spacing. Everything about this guitar is about playability. It plays fantastically well. Okay, so I'm running off at the mouth at this point. I'm going to shut up, and Dave will play it. You can see what you think about it.
We'll start clean through the Fender amp. Bridge pickup, everything up on 10. Go to position 2, bridge in middle. Position 3, middle pickup. Position 4. Neck pickup. Put some gain on that. Show the blender wiring on this. So this would be neck and bridge. Right, with this all the way down.
Yep.
I'll show you the difference all the way up. Bridge pickup, we'll put more gain on it. Position 2. Middle pickup. Put a little echo on it. Position 4. Neck pickup. Sounds great.
Yeah, sounds really good. It's a really great guitar. This is one of the more expensive ones that we've done, but man, it's a lot of guitar, and you know the price ends up being really reasonable, a lot less than you'd pay for one of those high-end guitars like Sir or Anderson or something, and it's the real deal. So I hope you enjoy it, and thanks for watching the video.